So now I would like to invite the second speaker of the day, Dr. Vivek Sharma. Dr. Vivek Sharma, born in a family of philanthropists and educationists, did his schooling from St. Paul High School, Palampur. After completing bachelor degree in commerce honors and law from Punjab University, Chandigarh, Dr. Vivek obtained his post-graduation in commerce and Doctor of Philosophy in commerce from Himachal Pradesh University, Simla. Dr. Sharma started his professional career as an assistant professor in commerce in 1992, remained head department of commerce and management studies in Rajpur College for 11 years, and that got elevation in career and became director cum principal of the same college in 2003, position at which he is still serving. Strong believer in hard work, growth orientation, and team building, Dr. Vivek Sharma has been instrumental in making the college at Palampur as one of the premier institutions of higher education in the state, with college being sought after destination for studies by students is one of the renowned center for imparting skill-based education to the students of the area with curriculum designed by the corporates. I welcome you, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Kanupriya. Am I audible to you, all of you?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you. First, my sincere thanks to Dr. Sylvester, President of Cameron Trust, for inviting me to this 7 days FDP. I also congratulate the organizers of this event, Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies, Faridabad, for organizing such a wonderful international FDP virtually and engaging all of us in a very, very fruitful discussion. I also extend my thanks to Dr. Shalja Vasudeva, Associate Professor in Political Science from Government College, Palampur, for giving me this opportunity to be attached with you all. So let me present my screen to all of you. Is it visible, Kanupriya?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Right. I'm sorry for the little bit of delay.
No, sir, it's okay.
So basically my topic is achieving excellence in institution of higher education in India. I'm talking, in Indian perspective. So I'll be concentrating on the Indian education system and higher education. And I would like to, start with my presentation by quoting one of the series of work paper, which has been written by faculty member from Aligarh Muslim University, in which he has very beautifully, explained the term excellence, which we are using in our education system nowadays. The institutions of excellence have been designated by the government also, by the private institutions also. But basically, I personally feel that it suffers from inflationary usage. Not at least because many higher educations, no doubt, are striving for the excellence. But if we take a very closer look on all these attempts, the basically, focus is on the research matters, as my predecessor was talking on the research among the teachers. But it is not only the research which is, bringing the excellence to the institution. We have to look at the learning and teachings also. And we think that this reductionist bias of research excellence only, it is counterbalanced by adequately taking into account all visions and missions of higher education. Those are many, and diversity of excellence are mainly, acquiring knowledge, know-how in subject field, developing a skill for job, also developing the full potential of a person, that is creating more active citizens, enhancing their social cohesion, and fostering multicultural dialogue. This is what they wrote in their work paper regarding the excellence in higher education. They were also of the opinion that global community seeks excellence across all higher educational roles: community engagement, leadership, research and innovation, teaching and learning. Whereas our universities are only concentrating and effectively in fulfilling the needs of a student, business, and communities as well, they are not successful in that. So with that, we will be, talking about the state of higher education in India. If you look at this table, in India, we have the total number of registered universities as per ASHE data. Presently in 1920, I am taking the base, was 1043. And if we look at the number of the universities in 2010 and 11, it was 554. Now, if we come down to the number of colleges, including the standalone institutions in the country, you can see well in a figure 2019-20, the total figure of undergraduate colleges and standalone colleges is 54,122, whereas it was in 2010-11, it was 22,736. If we further break it up, government colleges are around 11,000 and private colleges are around 42,000, out of which 13.4 are aided by the government and rest are unaided. So why I'm giving this figure, that there is a phenomenal growth in the education sector, basically higher education sector we are talking. 88% increase in the universities, 106% in the standalone institutions, and phenomenal 148% increase in the number of colleges. So gross enrollment ratio, if we talk in the higher education 10 years back, was 19.4%, which has increased presently to 26.3%. If we look at the status of higher educational institution based on accreditation process of higher education, which is the NAAC, NBA, which they are doing, so far, if we take the data as on 21st of June 2022 on the NAAC portal, total universities out of 1043, only 723 are accredited by the NAAC. And if we take the number of colleges out of 54,000, which includes the number of standalone institutions also, 13,971 institutions have been accredited at a college level. That makes a total figure of around 14,000 out of the 55,000. So that reflects the excellence of our institution, that we are lagging behind in accrediting ourselves through the NAC, maybe because of our internal lacunas or maybe because of some other reasons. So why this phenomenal growth in higher education sector have to be matched with certain points which I have elaborated here, that is the growth in excellence and quality. Is higher education upholding education role of service to society? And third, most importantly, quality of education is multidimensional concept. Quantified growth is embracing all functions, that is teaching, academic programs, research, scholarship, staffing, students, infrastructure, academic environment, producing desired end products of human resources in terms of developing entrepreneurship skills and employable skills among youth. What I mean to say is that all these parameters contributes to the excellence of any educational institution. So are we compliant with these or not? That will decide our fate to be an excellent institution. Fourthly, if we take higher education institution must be committed to the transparent internal and external evaluation conducted openly by independent specialists also, and their internal check and balances also. We must analyze where we are lacking and where we need to improve. And last point, higher education has become a marketable commodity, like fast moving consumer good products, or is it a service like water or electricity supply? Higher education is a commercial service or a public good? We have to answer all these questions before we reach at this conclusion whether we are gaining excellence in higher education or not. Basically, what is meant by excellence in higher education? It is an integrated approach of assessment, planning, and improvement in colleges and universities, which is basically designed to address not only a single challenge, but many challenges which are confronting the higher education, particularly those on which we can exercise some direct influence, which we can control or which we can regulate also. Institutional excellence, when we talk about institutional excellence, pursuit
ಭಾಳ ದೂರ ಆಕತ್ರಿ 2 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಆಕತ್ರಿ 2 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಆಕತ್ರಿ 2 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಆಕತ್ರಿ.
Am I audible, Kanupriya?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Pursuit of institutional excellence is a commitment involving many dedicated stakeholders. There are a lot of stakeholders who are involved in the higher education that must be aligned to a common vision of continuous improvement in institutional effectiveness. For that matter, strong leadership, enthusiastic support from the stakeholders, not only from the students, but the teaching community also, from the public also, from the government side also, from the educational regulators also, that is more important, needs to be coordinated. Only then our institution can flourish, institution can lead towards the excellence. So that is an important, institutional excellence requirement before we talk of the excellence in higher education. We have new education policy, NPEP 2020. What are the ideas and reality? Everybody is now well acclimatized with all these informations. And Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India has finally implemented this in 2020. After long groundwork, which has been carried out by 2 committees of Shri Subramaniam and Policy Drafting Committee headed by Kasturi Rangan. The last education policy which we had was in 1986, which was subsequently revised in 92. And now we have come up with a new education policy in 2020 for the implementation in the country. And what are basically, the main features of this education policy is to include, increase the gross enrollment ratio by 50% 2025. Holistic multidisciplinary education are to be promoted with flexible curricula, creative combination of subjects, and other vocational educations and multiple entry and exit systems. I know all of you must be knowing about all these things, but I just wanted to give you a flash of all these things to come to the main point of excellence. Regulations are to be there. Higher Education Commission is to be constituted in the country, which will have the 4 independent verticals: NHERC, which will be for regulations, GEC for standard settings, then HEGC for funding, and National Accreditation Council for accreditation of the institutions. Further we are going to rationalize our institutional architect relating to the multidisciplinary institutions are to be brought with the quality teaching, research, and community engagement into the fold. Motivated, energized, and capable faculty is the one more thrust area which national education policy lays on. It recommends for motivating, energizing, and building capacity faculty through clearly defined independent, transparent recruitment and freedom to design curricula in incentivize excellence, movement, and institutional. So basically, this concept relates to giving the autonomy to the institutions for making their own rules and regulations and developing their own curricula in the coming times. Financial support to the students, that is the most important for carrying out their higher studies, either within India or abroad, is one of the main thrust area of this national education policy. Professional education, that will be integral part of the higher education system in the coming days. And the main thrust is by 2040, everybody wants to see India with the equitable access to the highest quality of education of learners, regardless of their social and economic background. So those are the main thrust areas of the national education policy. And I personally feel that if we try to implement those in right spirits from the ground level, no institution can lag behind in getting the excellence for their institutions. Main framework of NEP 2020 has been to regulate the financing, governance, leadership, development in higher education, which is the part of the development. And what are the now changes required to bring excellence in higher education institutions? I have listed here few of the main areas where we need to work to improve the excellence in the higher educational institutions. Focus on quality, reforms in curriculums, deployment of new teaching learning models, skills that will be valuable, use of technologies and national initiative at a broader perspective. These are the areas on which we are to work in order to gain the excellence in higher educational institutions. If we go one by one, focus on quality is relating to the value dimensions. It should inculcate the democratic values, self-respect among the real stakeholders. New education policy devotes a good part on the framework of improving quality in education. And maximum investment is required in the human resource. Because if we look into, and which we are very much evident and know, that there are hundreds of vacant positions of qualified faculties, not at the university level, even at the colleges level. In case we will not have the qualified faculties, full faculties, we can't think of bringing excellence to the higher educational institutions. That is the one basic thing required to bring the quality in the higher education. Reforms in curriculum. No doubt, those are constantly required as per the available situations. That is the one basic drawback, that our university curriculums, our colleges curriculums carry on for a long time on the basis of traditional courses which were designed few years back. We need to change that thing now. And we have to develop our curriculums as per the requirements of the industry, as per requirement of the government jobs, so that the maximum university graduates who are now becoming unemployable, they are able to calibrate the education with the market forces to reduce the separation between place of learning and place of working. So that gap has to be mitigated, and that calibration need to be done between the course formation and actual requirements which is there for the manpower, not only in the educational institution, but the businesses, factories, and government institutions also. When we talk of a new deployment of teaching and learning models, this is one of the very important and focus area of any institution. Educator-centric model, learning centric model needs to be deployed with new lifelong learning models at college level for conducting need-based assessment. We need to have a concern and respect for students and student learning. We will have to go to their level to find out their real aptitude, where they want to reach. And that is possible only if we will be working hard on this learner-centric model. Appropriate assessment and feedback model needs to be developed to find out, demonstrate the mastery of material in different ways on the students. It avoids these assessment methods that encourage students to memorize and regurgitate. Recognize the power of feedback to motivate more efforts. So feedback system from the student community is very important to engage themselves in a real education and to bring them to the fore. Clear goals and intellectual challenge must be set for the student. Effective and efficient teachers set a high standard for students. That is very clear. But when we talk of our traditional colleges, I personally feel that we lack that culture. We are not concerned to find out what are the standards of our institute students and where we can bring them and where we can take them. Student must know and front what they will learn and what they will be expected to do with what they know. So that culture must have to be developed in the institution, engaging student at every level. Independence, control, and active engagement is the another part which we need to work on when we are talking of a good teaching methodology, whether it is a teacher-centric or a student-centric, we have to do that. Learning from student is one habit which we will have to inculcate. We all teachers must have the, that capability also and that standard also, that we should try to have a good teaching and we should try to find out the instructions in the light of evidence which we collect from the students, whether we are delivering properly to them or whether we are not properly delivering to them. That will be only known if we learn from the students. Now we come down to skills. Skills are very important part, and national education policy has got the thrust area of skilling the students, either through education system or through various other mediums and modes which the central governments and state governments are laying thrust on. The skills needs to be developed. Presently, what is the problem with our college student is they are more or less summarized as the ability to write down their examinations only, either through crammed or through prescribed books or a reading material. So skills like problem solving, critical analysis, creativity, decision making, emotional intelligence, negotiations, those need to be explored among the students at the college level to improve their learning skills and make them employable in the market. Use of technology. COVID-19 has given us a very, very big opportunity to get ourselves aligned with the technologies. And we personally feel that these technologies must be used in the institutions to bring a good level of education among the students. We are using Amazon, Netflix, Siri, where we are using the artificial intelligence So I personally feel that artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain, mobile computing, all these skills must be taught to the students at the college level to enhance their online learning experience and making them fit for the market also. When we talk of a national initiatives, higher education, UGC, Ministry of Human Resource Development, state bodies, they are making the efforts. And in 12th five-year plan, which has been emphasized by the central government, these points have been taken care of by the government, in which making institutional and program accreditation mandatory, reforms in academic staff college, evaluating of teachers by student and peer assessment, structural, scientific, systematic reforms for good governance. And all these points which have been enumerated here have been taken care of, but we need to, take these all efforts at the ground level, at the institution level, to, implement that in the institution. What I personally feel is there is a lack of communication between the government bodies and the institution, due to which a selected group of the institutions are given the importance to implement all these, things which the government have been taking as a planned measure to improve the excellence in the educational institutions. But all the stakeholders must be brought into fore to implement these changes. Only then we can think of a uniform system all over the country, where a student can change his institution from one state to another, when he can, bank upon his credit bank to change over to some other university. All these things which have been emphasized in the national education policy can be implemented only. Lastly, which I would like to emphasize, is highly bureaucratized system and multiple controls regulation exercised by the central and state governments, statutory bodies, have to be mitigated in the educational institutions. And there need to be a unity of command principle which should be adopted in governing the institutions. Only then we can think of an excellence in the higher educational institution. So I'll conclude this presentation only with one thing, that national education policy has given us a new agenda with huge opportunities in bringing many new elements for flexibility in the education sector. And if we all take a very collective measure to implement those in a right perspective at our institution level, there is no second question that we cannot achieve the excellence in our education system and in our educational institution as an excellence college. Thank you very much.